a Sapphire Running Zone podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Tim from the Sapphire Running Zone, and this is another in our Don't Forget Your Gels podcast series. And today we're heading off to New York, and we are joined by Dustin, who is going to talk all about his running experiences and his fundraising, which is obviously a really important part of this series. So Dustin, welcome. Tell us what you do, because you're obviously big into community support there, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me, Tim. So I'm the founder of Guarantee Karma, which is a platform that we help people find volunteer opportunities. We allow them to track their impact, and we give them rewards based on how often they volunteer. So besides people volunteering 2 to 3 times a year, we want people to volunteer 2 to 3 times a month. So big in the community of social impact and nonprofits.
What sort of community work do they do?
With Guaranteed Karma, we have a platform where it's all different types of communities, and we want to host other communities on the platform. So it's a platform where we have trash cleanups, we have where you can volunteer with dog shelters, you could do stuff with environmental. Food banks are really big in New York City, so you could pick your community. And besides just having a community in real life, we want that community also on the platform where you could see who's volunteering, you can see their impact. And if you see your friend that's volunteering on Friday, you're more likely to go volunteer when you know a buddy is going.
Now, obviously, running a startup is a bit of a intense process. What's running done for you during these busy months and years?
Yeah, absolutely. Through my years, I would never call myself a runner, someone that loves to run. I know the benefits, it's really good for you. But something I didn't realize when starting a startup is, you know, you're going to have 1,000 problems at all times. And a lot of times it's overwhelming, it's overbearing, it's just too much. But, the fun thing is after you run a few miles, a few times a week, those problems are so small. In your head, you built up this anxiety, the stress, oh, I can't overcome this. And after running a few miles, it's nothing. It's a nothing problem that is easy to take care of and manageable. So after learning that, I definitely have incorporated running in my lifestyle as I build my startup. And I've been lucky enough that hugely thankful for this run club called Pitch and Run here in New York City. They're also in London, where it's just a community of startup founders, investors that run and a shoulder to cry on, if you will, as you're running. And it's been great.
Yeah, I can imagine the focus of the conversation on those runs must be intriguing.
Yeah, they're interesting. You have all different types of people in there. You have new beginners like myself that, just want to absorb all the information you can. You have elites in there that have just done so much in the startup world, in the running world as well. And you have investors that have seen it all. It's just great. It's good.
But so which races have you done? Which halves and full marathons have you done so far?
Yeah, so I've done the Chicago Marathon, I've done the New York Marathon twice, and I've done the New York Half once.
And what was your training like for those races? Was it difficult to find the time, or did you manage to follow a plan and get the results that you wanted on race day?
I don't know necessarily the first two. Again, I was very new to running, and I knew a run coach, and she knew I was terrible, and she was just like, "Try to do 2 miles, additional 2 miles every week." So I started with 2 miles, went up to 4, went up to 6, 8, 10, 12, all the way up to 20. Then I, tapered down. But, I finished the first 2, so I'm happy with that. Um, the half marathon and the full marathon, I wanted to push myself a little bit more. So I stayed more committed with my run clubs, additional running, more recovery. But I was, I hit 2 hours for the half, and I hit 4 hours for the full. I wanted better, but I'll take them for now.
And how do you cope with the extreme climate then in New York? Because obviously you've got a brutal winters and brutal summers as well, haven't you? How do you deal with those heat extremes?
The heat is the tough part. The cold isn't bad. Once you get started, the cold, it's quite lovely to run in the cold. The heat is a different story. You definitely have to be cautious. You got to make sure you're hydrating. You can't overdo it, but you got to push yourself a little bit. But you just have to be cautious. When you get to race day, it's normally fall weather. For the most part, race day is pretty good.
What were your lasting memories of running a marathon in your hometown?
Oh man, it was hard. It was very hard. Mile 15, the first time I did the New York Marathon, hit me hard, and that's the King Burroughs Bridge. It was so quiet. I just hit like a wall like no other. That's probably the negative side of it. The positive side, there's so many people supporting you that don't even know you, so many different cultures, different types of people. It's very emotional, I would say. And it's the one thing that keeps you going. I think that's the one thing everyone loves about the New York Marathon. No matter what's going on in the world, the differences on that day, everyone comes together. It's something really magical. And I think it pushes the runners to be their absolute best. I love seeing disabled runners and runners that are all different ages, young, old, finishing, doing their part, doing the best that they can. It's so inspiring. And I think if you're curious about running a marathon, I would definitely highly recommend watching one and just seeing all the different people and seeing their motivations on why they're doing this and finding what's going to motivate you to get past that finish line. I think running a marathon is just it's an indicator that if you could do a marathon, you could do anything else in life. And anybody can do a marathon. It's all in your brain. It's all up here. Anybody can do it, but you doing that is going to be a testament that you could do anything. And that's why I enjoy doing them here and there, just for the simple fact that it's a reminder that my startup, if I want to take it to the moon, I can because I did a marathon.
I think the thing that I always found challenging about New York was the start and how early you have to get out to the start, because obviously it's they close the bridge very early. Some of these buses are leaving downtown sort of 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and it means you could be over there for 3 or 4 hours. It's quite unique. Whereas somewhere like Chicago, which is obviously an out and back as opposed to a point to point like New York is, Chicago's totally different. How did you find that contrast between those two courses?
They are different. Chicago is just you start and finish in around the same area, which is very nice. I ran Chicago in 2019, and it's all flat, which is very nice. There are some, I would say, dead points to where you don't have as many people cheering you on. Um, and, you're just in your head. That's a challenge you have to go through. New York City, there's very little places that you run that has very little people. It's almost stacked with crowds the whole way. But New York, you have the bridges, and those hills are tough. And gosh, it they hurt too. They just do. And I think the final once you get into like almost the final 5 or 4 miles of the New York, it's like an incline into like Central Park, and it feels like 1 mile just feels like it's five. It's like it's never ending. I think those are the differences for sure. I would prefer Chicago being more flat. If you want to go for a personal PR of all time, I would do Chicago.
I think New York is quite deceptive because, particularly for people coming in from overseas, you've no idea how steep some of those bridges actually are, and there's an assumption that Central Park is probably pretty flat, but it can be very different. What about the fundraising then? So you've fundraised. Have you fundraised for all of them, or
Not for all of them.
some?
For I would say for most of them I did, but not all of them. As anyone knows, fundraising's tough. It just is what it is. Your natural instinct is just and you should go to everyone people you don't know, ask them, for money. I think that's the first step. You got to do your work and get rejected and all that stuff. And maybe you get lucky. Maybe you have a great network of people that, are able to donate and you can hit your goal easily. I wasn't so lucky with that. And you got to get somewhat creative. So I tried that at first, just asking everyone, and it wasn't working out too well. So we had a party 2 times for our marathon to where we worked something out with the bar owners to where it was an open bar. People paid X amount. They got free drinks for 2 hours, and we would split the money with the bar owner, and then we easily hit our goal. So we just promoted a party, and I'll stand by that. I think it's tough for people to come out of their pockets to give you something, but if they're giving something for a good time, I think it's almost guaranteed that they'll do it. So anyone listening that has to raise money for a run, throw a party. People will definitely, and when they get drunk, ask for more money. Uh, they'll give more when they're had a couple beers in. So definitely go about that.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's a very interesting point, and we have this conversation with a lot of people who, particularly if they haven't got a massive network, or I think those kind of functions are really, really important. So, did you when you last ran New York? So that was in 2024.
Correct. That was 2024. I didn't fundraise for that. I got a free bib.
So the last time you did New York and you fundraise was when?
2021.
And who
Yeah.
did you run for then?
That one was for Achilles, which on our platform we want to have Achilles International is for disabled runners, runners of all types, and just amazing athletes that just have the grit to want to race. A few times I had volunteered with Achilles and led blind runners, and it was really inspiring because I was asking this runner, like, he runs so much. I'm like, he was telling me about all these races he's doing at all times, and I was like, it's really amazing. Why do you run so many races? And he told me he had a brain injury and that's why he went blind. But running is great managing his depression, and it's like that for all of us. If we're not feeling that well mentally, or feeling down on ourselves, or very stressed, we have to run. I mean, it's medicine for us. But that's who I ran for. That's who I supported. I love Achilles. I love seeing Achilles athletes. Big supporter of them.
So how much did you have to raise for that event?
I believe 2000.
So you set your fundraising page up, then you started targeting friends on your network through social media.
Friends, family. I had a couple other buddies that were running the race with me, so we just teamed up, and that's a great point. I think for anyone that's running, find a buddy and just team up and bring each other's networks together and throw a party. We threw a Halloween party, which was a lot of fun. Another thing, I think there's no better time than now, but content creating is a great tool for you to fundraise. I mean, get on TikTok, get on Instagram, talk about what you're running for, talk about the charity you're running for. I would even reach out to sponsors. A lot of brands want to be a part of your journey. They might give you a shirt to wear for the marathon to be a sponsor. They'll give you a donation. There's just a lot of ways you could raise money right now for running races, I would say.
Yeah, you look at social media now and it's full of ideas, isn't it? And full of examples of where people have done things a little bit differently. I think being creative is absolutely key, and using using your phone while you're out running, taking little videos, uploading those, telling people how hard it is training for a marathon, and getting people to understand what's involved. I think because it's such a solitary sport, you can sort of shy away from telling the world what you're actually doing, and it is really important to get out there and let everyone know.
Absolutely. I think more so than ever too. I think we're becoming coming to an age where people are interested in a story. I think people are getting tired of seeing the glamour of everything. They want to see the behind the scenes. So they want to see you, gosh, I almost quit today. They want to see, you having a hard time and how you overcome it. And, I think people really crave those stories because it's relatable, right? And not everyone can relate to people running a 315 marathon and just seeing that part of it. People want to see the nitty gritty.
So what are your aspirations now, running wise and fundraising wise? If you did another event and fundraise, would you do it for another charity, or Achilles really close to your heart?
Um, I would be open. I open to all charities. I love Achilles. I know they're doing phenomenal. Love to run for them again. I would love to run in London. I never consider myself a runner or a marathon runner, but if I'm gonna do it, I think I would love to knock out all the major ones around the world. And I think London would be a lot of fun and doing a charity for, a London-based nonprofit. I think that would be very cool.
How do you sort of mix up your running then with your work? Because obviously doing a startup isn't a 9 to 5 activity, is it? You can be doing work incredibly late. How do you squeeze in a run on your average day?
So I bartend too at night. So my sleeping schedule is just out of whack. So I work at night and I work all day on Guaranteed Karma nonstop. And normally, just in the morning when I wake up, before I can start even thinking about anything or my worries, I try to get a workout in and a quick run. Those are really helpful. When I do have time, I join my run club, which is really great as well. They have different ones around the city with pitch and run, different chapters in Brooklyn, in Manhattan. So when I can, I crave that community and I run with them. But I think first thing when I just get up, just don't even think, just do, get your workout in, run in. If I'm not training, I run a few miles and that's it. I don't try to overdo it because very little time for recovery at the moment. So I do what I can.
I think the run clubs are very important, aren't they, from a social perspective? I know a lot of people run with a group, either just a group of friends or an official run club, because the camaraderie can be really significant, because it is lonely, particularly as those long runs start cranking up. It can be very difficult, and particularly, I presume you're spending quite a lot of time on your own then during the day as well when you're working.
Yeah, that's the thing. You spend a lot of time by yourself. You're on your laptop, you're out in the field doing whatever you need to do, but it's very lonely, especially, I'm engaged at the moment and my fiance sees what I do and whatnot. There's still a disconnect. You don't know what it's like to be in a startup unless you're building a startup. You can see it from the outside. That community is just great because everyone's going through the same things. Everyone's gone through the lows at some point, and you have people that are going through the highs, which I want to hear about those highs as well because that's what I'm reaching for, right? So that community is very important.
Yeah, so I think keep going with the run clubs, because they will give you that sort of ongoing inspiration, won't they? And support, and it's what we all need. It's important to get out and join other people when you're running.
Yeah, community. I there's a statistic. I don't know the correct numbers, but you're more likely to die early um, if you don't have community. If you isolate yourself, you're more likely to get depressed, have health issues with heart disease, diabetes if you don't get out and get community. So get community. It's medicine.
So your next plan then is to do London or one of the other majors, and hopefully fundraise. And your main advice with the fundraising then would be team up with someone else that's doing the race and do a fundraising event like a party.
Correct. My fiance is from London. We've talked about possibly moving to London someday. I would love to do a London race in the future, and doing a fundraise for a charity within, that community. And if I did, I would, look for someone else that's running that marathon, that's raising money and team up. I would build content. I would reach out to sponsors, brand sponsors, and I would throw a fun party for everyone to enjoy themselves and feel good about having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. Appreciate your input, Dustin. Good luck with the startup, and look forward to hearing about your next run.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to this Sapphire Running Zone podcast. Keep checking back as we have lots more podcasts coming soon.